Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave a like on this video. The Arizona Cardinals today in just 30 minutes host the New York Giants. We're going to be with you every step of the way. I'm Johnny Venerable. He's Brittan Golden, former Arizona Cardinal wide receiver. We're hoping to be joined by Bo Brock live at State Farm Stadium in BG. It was reported by Bo Brock just about an hour's time ago that in a shocking occurrence, Budda Baker will not play today with a hamstring injury. As we get to our inactives right off the top here, what does that mean for the Bird Gang, specifically their defense against the Giants today?
Oh, it's a blow. I mean, anytime you lose a guy like Budda Baker and you don't get him for a game, it's a tough thing to happen. But I think the defensive back group last week played really, really well, and I'm looking to see some of the same even with Budda not in that lineup today.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tall task, but thankfully you got a Giants team that, doesn't have a prolific passing game. I would say I'm equally as concerned. If you look at these inactives, Josh Woods, a starter at linebacker, he's out. And then Leki Fotu is another shock. It's already they already lose LJ Collier to IR. He's not even on this inactive report. He was a starter with Fotu, Woods, and Baker last week. So if you're scoring at home, gentlemen and ladies in the chat, that's 4 starters that you're down from last week's really outstanding performance against the Washington Commanders. And so, the defense to me, I still think has the pieces, especially with Gannon at the helm, Nick Rallis calling plays, to limit what the Giants want to do. But man, you're poised against a Giants team that wants to run the ball with Saquon Barkely. That's going to be a tall task.
It is, and they're going to come out hungry today. I mean, they got blown out of the water last week on primetime football, so they're going to have a little chip on their shoulder. But, really in this game, it's, like they always say, the next man's got to step up, right? Everybody's on this level for a reason. If you've made it to the NFL, you were the best of the best in college. So this is an opportunity for a lot of guys that don't normally start to get in there and make a name for themselves.
Absolutely. Love this comment. Ben, the Cardinals fan, it's my 22nd birthday. Hoping for a dub. As are we, Ben. Happy birthday. Thank you, everybody, crushing it in the chat already as we kick off our pregame show. And on the flip side, maybe as equal of a loss for a New York Giants team that I frankly don't think has a lot of talent. They lose their franchise left tackle, Andrew Thomas. He tried to go. He gave it a go in warmups. They're holding him out, as we previewed all week, presumably for a Thursday night game next week against San Francisco. How do the Cardinals take advantage? Can they take advantage?
I think they do. The defensive line did a great job. Yes, we're missing a couple starters in the interior, but on the outside, those defensive ends got to the quarterback last week, and I think that should be another key emphasis this week. If we can put pressure on Daniel Jones and get to the quarterback and force him to make some errors back there, I think it could be a really good showing for the defense again.
Yeah, we don't know the time frame. It's speculated on the Twitter streets. Budda Baker could be out a couple weeks. Some people floated out injured reserve. It's crazy because we did our Friday preview show, and it hampered him in Friday's practice. He was put questionable, right? And it's really kind of snowballed behind the scenes over the last 24 to 48 hours. But the good news is Jonathan Gannon, defensive back savant. Kayvon Wallace was fantastic last week. You've got Jalen Thompson, Keitrell Clark, Marco Wilson. Like, what do those guys do this week? How do they come together to be able to suffocate Daniel Jones, kind of like the Cowboys did last week?
Yeah, honestly, it's just doing your job.
Yeah.
Right? When you get out there, don't try to do anything out of the ordinary. Go out there, do your job. The plays will come. As long as you get out there and you do what you're supposed to do, the defensive line does what they're supposed to do, I think the secondary can have a really good day. But the key is going to be knowing what you got to do and executing the assignment.
If I had to guess, I would say Jalen Thompson, Kayvon Wallace are going to be cemented as your 2 safeties. You've seen Jalen Thompson last week and in the preseason move down the slot. I would imagine that's going to be reserved today for somebody like Antonio Hamilton, Keitrell, and Marco Wilson on the outside. And again, name me 2 of the 3 Giants wide receivers. I bet you can't do it. So that's a good problem to have as we transition into second segment. It's the Bird Gang Blitz, looking at the top storylines for this game. We touched on a few, but I think the most important is this is Jonathan Gannon's home debut, BG. This is the first time that JG and company, his coaching staff, are going to be able to introduce and ingratiate themselves to a fan base right now that has seen, count it, 2 home wins in 2 years. How important is this first impression for JG?
It's a big one, right? It's your first home game as the head coach. You want to come in, and especially as a defensive-minded coach, you want to make a statement on the defensive side of the ball today. So really for him, it's just making, like we talked about earlier, it's just making sound decisions on the field for the guys and getting the play calls, making sure they know how to execute it, and then just going down and doing it.
So you played in what I think is one of the golden eras of Cardinal football under Bruce Arians, division titles, going to NFC title games. And I would say most of that tenure, the fan base was 90+% Cardinal fans in the stands. Would you say that's accurate?
And it would happen. Now, determined on who we played, there was some time when the Seahawks would come to town, there was some times there was a few more Seahawks jerseys in there than Cardinals jerseys. But, I mean, when we were here, I mean, we won.
Yeah.
You know, we did things well. Defense was sound. Offense was really good. And, you know, that fan base in that stadium is crazy.
Yeah.
When you're playing well, they are diehard. They pack that place out. So I think for today, I think it's important for the Cardinals to get out, start fast, and get that fan base involved because they can really change the game with how loud they can be.
Well, I bring it up because there's already, reports from Bo Brock and others. There's a lot of blue in the stadium today. And it's like, I just feel like that's the outcome of being so, I don't want to say unwatchable at home, but the product has not been good. Like, that's not breaking news. I asked Cliff Kingsbury about it last year. How are you going to fix it? Oh, we have new protocols. They won one game at home last year. Yeah. I mean, you got to be able for people to come out, and we support you however you want to spend your money. Hopefully on the Game Time app, you're going to go get some tickets today. But it's like, I don't know if I want to renew my season tickets, Johnny. I don't know if I want to spend the money to take my family, and that's your right. How do they turn this around at home? The culture, the environment of a stadium that once, pride itself on, hey, we got a sellout streak, right? We're going to a Super Bowl. And now it's like 2023. We just want to get people enthused about going to State Farm Stadium again.
Well, the big thing is now, like we said, you got to start fast. You've got to give the fans what they want to see.
That's right.
Nobody's going to spend money on something when they know they can tell the outcome before they get there, right? Especially when you're a diehard fan. You don't want to spend all this money to go to the game and watch them lose, knowing they're probably going to lose. So I think today, just doing your job, starting fast, and really the ultimate thing is getting a win.
Yeah. It's hard, too, because I really like the moxie of this Cardinal team and what I saw last week. But the star power is not there, at least not yet. I was running errands with my son yesterday, and he casually wanted to buy a new Cardinal jersey. He's got Kyler Murray, right? He's got D-Hop once upon a time. He's got an old David Johnson jersey. It's like, who can I get? And I said, really, outside of Budda Baker, I mean, it's a gamble. Like, who's going to be on this team next year? I can't go get him a Marvin Harrison Jr. jersey today, although that'll be in our future. I do think that when this team starts to develop more stars, they draft stars, they add stars in free agency, like people want to come out and see that. When it was J.J. Watt and D-Hop and Kyler Murray and A.J. Green and this team was humming at 9-0, I was at that Thursday night game against the Packers. That place was up for grabs. Now you're in a transition period a little bit, and they want to see those touchdown makers, those money makers, right?
Well, and that's the big thing, right? You obviously want to have big superstars in town, right? And it doesn't always happen early, especially when you're going through a rebuild phase. And as much as you don't want to call it a rebuild phase, that's kind of what we're in right now. There has been a change to the guard, coaching staff-wise. There's been a lot of new faces in that locker room. So right now it's just looking for who is going to step up and show you that they can be a superstar on this team.
Yeah.
And get people excited to come to games.
And I think the closest thing right now is on the defensive side. That brings us up to our next Bird Game Blitz topic. Down on defense, who's got to step up? As you can see, the linebacker, Kazir White, he will play today. I'm looking at a guy who's transitioning from linebacker, BG, to outside pass rusher, and Zaven Collins, who had interception last week, fumble recovery, and you would assume Zaven is going to be matched up against their backup, that being the Giants tackle, with Andrew Thomas out. I mean, this is a day, I think, for the former first-round pick to come out and make a mark in front of the home crowd.
Oh, for sure. Especially knowing that they don't have that starting left tackle in place, right? Now, we don't know much about who's playing tackle for him anyway, but you never know. But I think today is a day where Zaven Collins comes out and makes a huge impact on the edge today. I think if he can get after the quarterback, we can have a really good shot today.
Absolutely. And one of the things I was most impressed with last week, BG, was the lack of explosive plays allowed by this Cardinal defense against the Commanders. And I get it's the Commanders, but I would put the Giants in that same boat too. They're limited. So if can you force, with your defensive backs tackling like they did last week, the Giants to have 9-10 play drives, they're going to increase the margin for error that Daniel Jones is going to potentially throw an interception, right? Fumble the football. I think the Cardinals, if they can double down on how well they tackled last week, it's a great recipe to win this game.
A great recipe. And tackling, especially on defense, it's cliche to say it, but it's one of the most important things possible. If you can keep everything in front of you and just force it to where it's 3-4 yard gains and incomplete passes and stuff like that. I mean, it's a good thing. We would rather give up a 6-yard game than a 60-yard game. So,
as I bring up our third topic, I'm going to bring up my dear friend. It's Bo Brock live at State Farm Stadium. Do we got him? Damon Dog, there he is. Hey, what's up, my guy? How
what's
we
up,
doing?
guys?
What up, Bo?
How we feeling today?
We're doing well. We're cautiously optimistic as we transition here on the Bird Gang Blitz to Josh Dobbs' second act, right? It wasn't pretty, Bo Brock, last week against Washington. Give me some rationale. Give Cardinal fans hope of why it could be different today at State Farm Stadium for Josh Dobbs.
Just another week, more progress with his teammates, obviously getting familiar with his wide receivers, timing, getting out of their breaks, and hopefully some more splash plays down the field, something that we didn't see too much of. We saw a 31-yard game from Rondale Moore, and outside of that, there weren't a lot of plays beyond the sticks for Joshua Dobbs. But I think just another week in this offense now, 3 weeks? Brittan Golden, I'm not saying that that's enough to get it done, but I think you can see incremental progress by this offense and Joshua Dobbs. Obviously, he's also not playing with any kind of the elements. I mean, we're inside, the roof is closed, and he's playing in front of the Red Sea. That should help as well.
No, it should. And it should give him a little bit more confidence boost. Because, I mean, these guys, these fans in the stands, they want to see success. They want to see these guys go crazy. So I think there's a little bit more for him today. I think he's probably a little bit more hyped up, knowing he's playing at home, knowing he's got to perform this week to build off of last week. So I think it'll be a better showing. I hope it's a better showing. We got to get James Conner the ball. That's for sure. More than 5 touches, that's not going to count. I mean, yeah. If we can average 5 yards a carry again with James Conner with multiple touches, it won't put a lot of pressure on Dobbs anyway.
Absolutely. That brings us to our last point here on the Bird Gang Blitz. SOS touchdowns. Where are the touchdowns coming from for this team? They didn't score any last week offensively. They have not eclipsed 20 points in a game since Kyler Murray played 4 quarters for this team last year at home against the LA Chargers. It's been 6+ games. How do they find a way into the end zone, Bo Brock? What's the recipe, and who should they target in this passing game? Obviously, James Conner in the run game. How is this team going to manufacture points today?
I mean, you saw 10 targets from Zach Ertz, but, I think we all agree we want to see some of the young bucks get some opportunities, maybe spread those targets out. But when I think about red zone, maybe nightmares for the New York Giants, somebody we didn't see too much of in week 1, I think Michael Wilson, this could be a good chance for him to maybe get a big one of those, be part of the solution as far as those splash plays, those explosives. Give 14 the ball. I mean, we know that Hollywood, we know about Rondale Moore. They got kind of incorporated in this offense. Let's get the other guys involved as well. I think Michael Wilson, the more you get him involved, the better your offense is going to look.
I agree. And we saw a flash from Michael Wilson last week. We saw a flash with a big over the top, taking it off the DB's head and coming down with his feet in bounds. So you've got what you want, especially red zone wise. You've got you a big, tall receiver that can go get the ball. So, I mean, I think utilizing them is what we got to get to.
I saw Devontae Adams have like a slant catch and run today. And while people may scoff at this, like his ability, what he can do after the catch, like I want to see Michael Wilson, Bo Brock. I'm so glad you brought him up. Get those opportunities today, but it takes 2 to tango. Like Dobbs has got to put the ball on the money. So, like, could we see potentially the reignition of the screen game, being letting these playmakers catch the ball at the line of scrimmage or maybe slightly ahead of it to manufacture yards? Hollywood, Rondale, we mentioned Michael Wilson, maybe Trey McBride, because I think there are limitations with Dobbs in this offense right now, at least, to throw the ball 20, 30 yards downfield.
Well, I think it just also comes with familiarity. Like once you get in and you're Joshua Dobbs, like who do you familiarize yourself with first? Hollywood Brown, Rondale Moore, Zach Ertz. And now, like even with more time, he gets to develop a rapport. And like we saw throughout training camp, you got to have a guy like Wilson who just gets himself open, makes plays for this offense. And I think it's like a trust fall, right? I think that Joshua Dobbs, week 2 in this offense, maybe he trusts 14 a little bit more. But maybe that might be just me being optimistic about it. But I think if you are going to kind of take the next step, I think Wilson needs to be involved in it. And then exactly what you guys are saying. I mean, lean on 6 in the run game, and that could open up a whole lot of things for this offense against the G-men.
Yeah, we need some touchdowns, gentlemen. As much as this defense, I think, is going to overachieve today, even without Budda Baker, Bo Brock, which was a surprise. The offense, you got to take advantage of a Giants defense that I think is relatively vanilla average, gave up 40 points last week. And speaking of points, brings us into Tap That App, Johnny's favorite bets for this week with our friends at BetMGM. I'm due to hit on a few, gentlemen. I'm in a little bit of a cold streak, but this is what I like today. And of course, I'm sticking with the under until this team shows me otherwise. Under 39.5 points for two teams that didn't score a touchdown last week. That's pretty wild. That at least would suggest that over-under, that one of these two teams is going to find their way in the end zone a couple times today. And then Bo Brock, your boy, Zach Ertz, how about an anytime touchdown? Plus 240 for a guy who led the team in targets last week. I don't hate that. I may hate that he got 10 targets, but I'm trying to just put the puzzle pieces together. Plus 240 for Ertz, number one target. Yes, please. And then, yes, please to Hollywood Brown. More attention in the passing game. He looked fantastic. He looked explosive last week. I love Hollywood Brown, gentlemen. Over 42.5 receiving yards at minus 115. Again, you can parlay all these picks together with our friends at BetMGM right now. Download the app. Use that bonus code PHNX. Going to save you some coin. Bonus bets, it's like Christmas morning every time I open that app. But, Bo Brock, anything standing out for you of my bets or some that potentially you like in this game?
I love yours, and BG, I'm riding that hot hand. I saw Rondale Moore was 26.5, so down from 31.5 that we cashed last week. I'm going to ride that one. I'm hammering Rondale Moore over on receiving yards, 26.5. It's like one play, and you're cashing that slip. And I love what Johnny has. I mean, there's so much value as far as the Ertz anytime tutty. I'll get in on that with you.
You got anything? You had some bets this morning, a couple parlays.
I do degenerative parlays that probably aren't going to hit, but it could happen. You never know.
My man had a $10 parlay paying out over 800, and he was like halfway there. It was all these anytime touchdowns. I'm guessing though, wisely, no Cardinals included in that parlay.
Well, it was all the morning games. So yeah. I just did the morning crew right now. So.
Bo, I didn't get a chance to touch on this with you in the first segment, but just the reaction to the fact that Budda Baker is out today with a hamstring. There are reports he got an MRI. There's additional kind of whispers on Twitter that he could potentially be out a couple weeks. What are you hearing from the folks at the facility, at the stadium today with regard to the Cardinals All-Pro?
Let me just say this. I mean, this is a tremendous hit to the defense anytime you lose the heart and soul of your team. And he just happens to play on the defensive side of the football. It's not trending in the right direction. And this, unfortunately, seems to be a trend across the league. We're seeing guys deal. Hamstrings are popping up all over the place. And it's unfortunate that one come up and bit Budda Baker this week. Now, is the severity of it? No, I haven't heard anything. And the team, the new regime, is very tight-lipped as far as tell us as far as the injury. We saw that LJ Collier was placed on IR. And we would just assume it's the biceps injury, but is he going to be a guy that has potential to return? But those are all things that we're not going to really get any kind of clarity of any kind as far as until post-game with Jonathan Gannon. I'm sure he's going to be focused on the results of the game more so than what's the status update on Budda Baker. But I don't think we're going to get anything outside of maybe an Ian Rappaport, one of the insiders dropping a nugget that they get while the Cardinals are on the field to play today. So it's a big blow to this defense that seemed to have, relatively a pretty healthy team. But now you're down 4 starters on defense that played so well in week 1. So Andre Chachere, you're up. Kayvon Wallace. I think Chachere could be a guy who just played a Budda role, where Kayvon Wallace and Jalen Thompson play their familiar roles. And then you'll have that rotation up front without Collier, without Lecky Fotu. It's going to take a collective effort. I'm talking like 18 deep as far as this defense for these guys playing well to have a repeat performance.
It transitions us beautifully into In the Cards here, our final segment, predictions for the game. And, Bo, BG, and I talked about it earlier. The emphasis now is going to be on this offense to pick up the defense. I mean, you can't expect a similar performance. They might get a dominant effort, and I hope that happens. But you got to be realistic here. You're missing your all-pro safety, the captain of your defense. The offense needs to find ways to sustain drives, to put points on the board, to get this crowd going. People don't want to see shut out in a quarter and a half leading into halftime in the third quarter. So, how imperative is it that Josh Dobbs play well today? And if he doesn't, how quickly could they potentially look at somebody like Clayton Tune if it is resembling at all like last week's performance?
Yeah, I think that if things kind of fester in the wrong direction, that it becomes an opportunity to get him more reps. I think that's how they would view it, more so instead of trying to pivot to the other guy. But like, as far as on the defensive side with Saquon in there, like, the one thing you knew about 3 is like you had to avoid 3 in Budda Baker, and now they might target 3, and that probably doesn't open up as many opportunities for a Kayvon Wallace and a Jalen Thompson like they were seeing last week, because Washington was throwing away from Budda Baker. We'll see if they attack a guy like Saquon, who had a tough time in the preseason and was a guy that was kind of a teamer and friends roster type in Philadelphia. We'll see if they can overcome that, but it certainly changes things.
BG, what do you need to see from Josh Dobbs today before it's time to start looking at alternatives? Because large segment of the fan base not happy with the way number 9 played last week.
No, and it's understandable. It wasn't what you wanted to see out of your starting quarterback. But I think today Dobbs has to do a better job of seeing the field, not panicking when his first option isn't there, and just letting the play read itself out. Also, I think that run game is going to help. I think if we can establish a good run game early, it'll put them in situations where passing is easier. Offensive line's got to do they got to do a good job. You got to give him time. So when his first read isn't there, he knows he's still got time to go through it. But ultimately, it's just moving the ball down the field. He's got to do a great job getting the ball down the field and putting points on the board.
5 minutes till kickoff. It's prediction time. Bo, you and I both like the Cardinals in this game, although our predictions came, Bo, on Friday when we knew that Budda Baker, we assumed, was going to play. Any revision to your 18-17 score from Friday?
I think they still sneak it out. I mean, this is the home opener. I'm expecting, a jump of some sort from this offense, taking care of the football, and then still playing hard-nosed football on the defensive side of the football. Andrew Thomas is out. The Giants are still licking their wounds as well. I think it plays in favor of the Arizona Cardinals more so than the G-Men. I still think that they win this one 18-17.
I'm going to go 2017. BG, are we 3 for 3 with Cardinals winning today?
Knowing that their left tackle is out changes a little bit. Originally, I was going to go Giants strictly because I feel like there's going to be a chip on their shoulder with the way they performed last week, and I know that their head coach demands a lot better, but
yeah,
I think Zaven Collins has a day today. I think there's a defensive touchdown, maybe 2 scored today, so I mean 21-17.
Nice.
Cardinals?
You'd love to see that. We'd love to see this. Free matter for the blind, $5 super chat. Everyone put on your lucky underwear and let's go gut some Giants. We're going to be back immediately following the first half for your definitive Arizona Cardinal halftime show. Plus, it's the post game. Johnny Venerable, Brittan Golden, Bo Brock, hopefully following an Arizona Cardinal victory. Like and subscribe to this podcast. Like this video right now. Subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Thank you to my guy, Bo Brock, live from State Farm Stadium. We are back following the first half. We'll see you then.